This is Chris Hansen.
Chad doing Rip City Radio here.
It's your favorite basketball player, Tyler Hansbrough.
This is Jamie Hudson.
This is TJ Houshmandzadeh.
And I'm going to let y'all know something.
Duke sucks and Duke will always suck.
You're listening to
It Just Makes Sense.
It Just Makes Sense.
Listen, this podcast is not about being right. It's about being entertaining and sometimes right.
It was pretty
That was
satisfying to be like, my friends are richer than I thought.
Yeah.
Or dumb.
Or dumber.
Both.
Yeah, we're
Fuck.
just dumber.
Definitely both.
To tarnish his quote-unquote GOAT legacy, name another quarterback that's accomplished what he's accomplished. I don't give a fuck if that game was a blowout. What Brady did is out of this world.
But
and
that's,
he still has a chance at
and
that.
the only person he's being compared against is
The
Brady.
greatest.
Yeah.
We're back.
Clear eyes.
Full heart!
Can't lose.
Play like a champion!
Spritz some Lacoste cologne.
El Podcasto de Deportes. Oh, that's my old stuff. Oh, you're going to make it smell that much better in here. Smoke is lingering. Do you have to? Do you have to? We've smelled it before.
The shit out of his girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Smells like a freshman pledge, huh? Do you remember your first cologne?
Bod.
I think mine was like the one where it has
Gross.
like the...
Bod.
Yeah, I think that's everyone.
Bod black and bod blue were mine.
I didn't know there
That's
were
not even
colors.
cologne. That's body spray.
No, that's not
What's
true.
the difference?
Oh, no.
Cologne
mine
is its
wasn't
own
that.
category.
Mine wasn't bod. Cologne...
It has to be eau de toilette. Not a body spray.
Don't you call me that again.
Mine was the blue bottle, the Polo Ralph Lauren.
No, yeah.
And that still smells good to me to this day.
See, I grew up right in the Axe era.
Eau de toilette, yeah. The one with the body.
All of them say
Right?
eau de toilette.
That one. Jean-Paul Gaultier for
That's
men.
not bod, though.
Le Mail.
Yeah, that's not bod.
Okay.
He's talking about like Axe. Bod is Axe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
no,
spray.
but I'm
It was
saying
cheaper version of
I
Axe.
thought that. Yeah.
That's eau de locker room. Not
Oh.
eau de toilette.
Water asshole.
that mixed with like a dried up sweat and shoulder pads. That's what
Yeah.
it smells like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I remember Chase Wilde, Attorney at Law. Chase was much more sought after by the ladies than I was. I mean, this dude was ripped.
He was compact. He's a compact
he
individual.
was lean, ripped. Girls used to ask like for body pics of me, and I would take pictures of Chase and send them.
You were catfishing that early.
yeah, dude. I was the original catfish.
I feel like catfish is big in Utah for some reason.
Hey, bro, can I take shirtless photos
I
of
would
you real quick?
not even,
but
even
like POV style?
I would even be like, Chase, I'm like at home. I would text him and be like, hey, can you send me an ab pic? And I would send him. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's insane.
But Chase,
What happens when you take off your shirt in front of these women?
dude, we're past point of no return. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well.
Well, and I was
They
super.
go, oh, that's not exactly.
And the
I
fact-
just did a food challenge at the Sizzler, so
The fact of the matter is I was like overly self-conscious about my body in high school. I was in immaculate shape.
Right, yeah.
I just didn't have a six-pack. And Chase did. So that was the difference. But anyways, Chase.
Shout out sex symbol, Chase Wilde Attorney
Yeah,
At-Law.
absolutely. Who has a baby due next month. Shout out number 2 for Chase and Hannah.
Numero deux.
But he was a bod guy, and his mom, I remember, because bod used to come in like these little spritz bottles, but you could get like the giant size that was like a fucking all-purpose spray.
Yeah, it looked
for
like
your
a
counter.
Windex cleaner.
Exactly.
It comes in a 2-pack at Costco with Raid.
I want.
Raid and bod.
But yeah, bod black. We used to fuck with that heavy.
Want your bod.
Yeah.
We order food.
No, we haven't ordered food yet.
Oh.
We'll figure that out.
We'll,
Yeah, at
we'll do
8
that.
o'clock.
We'll do that at intermission.
We'll do once we intermission. For everyone who's been wondering where we've been,
We died.
we had to go into hiding a little bit because of the Mexican cartel.
That's true.
Fresh off of the Bachelor party and the Super Bowl, was then joined to us by the snowstorm here in the Portland metro area. So we elected to just kind of punt and take a week off because what was said was already said, and between now and then and all that, we just decided it was going to be the same stuff. So,
yeah. And here we are. You're welcome.
we're home. So again, Miguel's Bachelor party was phenomenal.
It was. I'm sorry. I go ahead. Actually, never mind.
I set you up to talk. I don't know.
No, you didn't actually. I just remembered something that I wanted to ask you.
Okay, then ask it, and then we'll do the Bachelor party.
Totally out of context.
No. We're back into context.
Like, we know
now we've
segues
made it
anyway.
weird. Yeah. Now we've made it weird, so now it's back
Well,
into context.
I was gonna. First of all, do you know what a matter baby is?
What's the matter, baby?
Okay, you've heard that.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I've been trying to get people at work to do a "What's the matter, baby?" It's never worked.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Anyways,
Shocker that I set it up incorrectly.
I know you guys don't smoke weed.
No.
Do you ever get into these like cycles of high thoughts? Do you ever like just you're sitting alone watching TV or something and you're like, wow, you know,
You've been around me. I do that all the
I
time
know.
without smoking weed.
Yeah. I had a giggle sesh. Lindsay will tell you about this. I had a big old giggle sesh, stone cold sober the other night. It was great.
about what?
Okay, so Lindsay was reading a book, and in that book, there was a woman named Fiducia,
Okay.
right? And lately,
Last name Airy. Fiduciary.
and so lately, whenever something like that happens, I go, Fiducia, I hardly knew her, right? And to me, it was just the greatest setup that I almost missed, that I just, like, made myself
You didn't
giggle.
do it with like a New York accent?
No.
And say, I hardly knew her.
I hardly knew her.
Fiducia. I hardly knew her.
No, I went real white with
Yeah,
it.
you just got Shyamalan twisted, bitch. You weren't even aware.
Yeah.
So the other night I was watching this video and it started off with the "What's the matter, baby" joke.
Sure. Okay.
And it was obviously like a hook to get you to watch the video.
Uh-huh.
And then this dude goes into like this super deep, complex diatribe about matter. Like,
Physical matter.
yes,
Yeah.
you understand what physical matter is.
Yes.
Do you guys ever think that it's impossible to eliminate matter once it's created? Like, so we all agree that there's an ozone layer over our Earth, right?
Some people might debate that, but we
Yes, but
here
we all agree
collectively agree with that. Yes.
And so let's take a home, a house.
A house. Sure.
We have to grow the tree, cut the wood, create the metal, everything that's done.
Sure.
Then let's say we want to dispose of this house. We burn it down, let's say.
Right.
It turns into smoke.
Ash. Yeah.
And that smoke is still in our ozone layer. So I was super stoned, which I don't do as much anymore.
You're not much of that no more.
But I had a night where I smoked a joint. Baby was asleep. Everybody was taken care of. I smoked a joint, and I got into this wormhole about how, like, everything is trapped. Like, even if you try to burn it, it turns into smoke, which is still trapped.
And then where does it go?
when do we run out of room?
I think that what happens is that it goes up and then it falls into the ocean and then it hits the bottom of the ocean. There's a lot of stuff at the bottom of the ocean, I'm sure. So.
It depends what you believe. I feel like any smoke that goes up in the sky turns into stars.
That's very Native American of you.
Yeah. It's called, if you've ever heard of the word recycling. So when you burn trash,
That's what recycling.
when you burn trash, the smoke from the trash goes up into the sky and turns into stars and lights up the sky.
That's very optimistic.
You know what really like gets me crazy, and we've talked.
I'm
going
gonna
to
need a joint.
My whole thing is like the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory like fucks me up.
It's a horrible show. I get
No,
it.
I hated it too.
it's a terrible
Fucking
show.
shitty show.
No, it's just kind of like, okay, how did nothing become infinite something? It's like if you didn't even have a room in the first place, right? It's like then it like something happened and everything exploded and it created all of these galaxies and stars and planets and everything, but like nothing existed before. So, right, like if the concept of nothing becomes infinite something, what existed before? Are you tracking what I'm saying here?
I didn't.
Nothing
Aliens.
existed before.
I wasn't
Aliens.
under the understanding that there was nothing before.
It's just like collective dust, and then something exploded and created everything. Maybe I just don't understand the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I think that's over my head. Mm-hmm. Like most things.
That messes me up.
But anyways,
Dinosaurs.
that really fucked me.
Where do they come
fucked me
from?
up.
Ever heard?
So I just thought I'd bring that to the table. That's it, though.
You've continued the joint smoking all the way from Mexico back, took
Weed
it
was-
back to the house.
weed was great
With
in
Mexican
Mexico.
weed or American weed?
This was American weed, which is much better than
Yeah.
Mexican weed, I've realized.
So you have a lot of time, Juan, to sit outside while you're not smoking weed, but you probably get a nice little head high with these black and milds here. What do you have in terms of your high thoughts?
You don't want to know what's going on in my brain. I mean, he sat next to me at work for months, and without smoking, there's a lot of shit and a lot of it comes out.
Yeah.
A lot of it I just say randomly.
Yeah, just thoughts in progress.
If somebody that didn't know me spent time with me, they would think I'm the biggest fucking stoner, just for like the
But you don't
weirdest
smoke
thoughts
at
that
all.
goes on in my head.
Yeah. Contrary, you are the least. I think
I
that-
am constantly running on fumes. Just all the fucking time, 24/7.
I think you're the type of person where if somebody knew you for like 4 hours, they would be maybe scared to see you again.
Absolutely.
Because I
That's
feel like
absolutely accurate.
if you know Miguel for that amount of time, he exposes himself and his thoughts enough to you,
literally and figuratively.
but it's not enough time to understand, like to get to know him and understand who he is and like kind of laugh it off.
You would just get the surface level of it with zero context.
Yeah,
and it's terrifying.
It would be scary.
Well, I mean, like
and threatening.
There was a 1-2 punch with him and Mitchell Lindsay meeting them for the first time at what was it, K's in
K's in
Selwood, and they went
Shout
after
out
her,
K's.
and she shout out K's, great Mac. She stuck around, so
Yeah.
but we definitely had conversations afterwards about what happened.
There's a
there,
difference there. There's a big difference there though, because Mitch is there to level things out. If it's just me, it's terrifying.
It's true. That's true.
I get scared of me sometimes.
Yeah. But anyways, that was my high thought.
High thoughts.
We can get back to more important things.
Yeah, I look forward to more high thoughts.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. And at official IJMS, let us know your high thoughts. And if anyone could explain the Big Bang Theory to me.
Early times packs more of a punch than Four Roses.
Yes, it
I'll
does.
tell you
It's
that.
Yeah, you wasted.
100.
It's like
100 proof.
it's like going from Monterey Jack to fucking sharp cheddar.
Oh shit.
wow.
Packs a punch.
What a. Okay, so back to
Yes.
the main event,
Yes.
which is not the Super Bowl. It was our Super Bowl. It was Juan
Yeah, let's do this
Magoo's-
chronologically.
Juan Magoo's bachelor party in Cabo. Let's see. I got a little bit terrified on the way because I was on a different flight than you guys, and the flight that you guys had said Los Cabos, and then the flight that I got on from Seattle said San Jose del Cabo, and I'm like, one of us is going to the wrong place, I think. So
Same shit.
it was, yeah, it really was. So the house was incredible. The vibes were great. The sun was out. The pool was incredible. The service, everything. It's like, where does one begin?
That service was top notch.
Yeah.
The service was a difference maker.
Yeah.
I feel like if it didn't exist and we just had a normal average, I mean, the Airbnb wasn't average, but if we just had the house and all of us there and we were doing our own shopping and all that.
Imagine if we had to cook and clean.
Yeah.
Like, how much time?
It would have taken some time, but we still would have had fun.
No doubt about that.
But the fucking service that is, I believe, without staying at 5-star joints, that's the 5-star premium service that people pay for.
We did get a 5-star experience. I was telling Jera that anytime you would leave a room and then come back to it, it would be like you were never there.
Yeah. I was like somewhat uncomfortable that they folded my clothes. I was like,
yeah, didn't you wake up and like your clothes from your bag were washed and folded?
Yeah, I woke up and walked out right when breakfast was being served. And I walked out to the fire pit where we were the night before. This is the first night. And then the next morning, the first morning there, I'm like, oh, all the empty cans and the ashtray and all that shit was picked up from around the fire pit.
yeah.
So initially, because I didn't know how the service worked yet, I'm like, oh, someone cleaned up. Like, you cleaned up. Jordan cleaned up. And then I saw one of the housekeepers, like, with a trash bag with all of the shit there. And then breakfast was served. I eat breakfast. I go back to my room. I had fresh towels, folded, soap that I used once. Like, already refilled. My clothes that was on the pile on the floor, washed, folded. My bed was made. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
It was wild.
No, it was incredible. And this house, although off the beaten path, I would say,
Literally, yeah. On a dirt highway road.
the service and the quality of stay that we had, I would not replace that with a more convenient trip.
Yeah.
Like being that far away, I kind of like that, especially on trips like this. Like in Montana, it was similar, where we're a little far away from, the
Things,
bars
yeah.
and shit. Because the hype that you have when you leave a bar and you're like, oh, I want to stay out forever. And it's like, okay, let's head home. If we still want to party, we can still party. By the time you get home, you've sobered up just a little bit. And it's like, okay, I can chill at the house now. I don't feel that hype to like go to another strip club. So I kind of love that vibe. But it was incredible. I've never experienced that type of service and amenities. Like it was
the food,
so,
the spread,
was
exceeded expectations. I was like, I thought you guys were just gonna serve food. I didn't know it was gonna come out in flaming plates and like the garnishes and like all of this stuff. I'm like, oh, the sushi dinner was fucking insane.
Yeah.
Right, because we would ask for like a main course, and then they would just build around it.
Yeah.
which was so funny. It was
You
like,
bring out meat with sparklers. I'm like, Jesus Christ,
yeah.
dude.
yeah. So to give some context here, we got there Thursday.
Yeah,
And it was just half of us at that point. Did we have a dinner Thursday? Tacos. We just had
We did
tacos.
Yeah,
Yes. And then Friday we had breakfast. More people arrived. We went out on Friday night. And then on Saturday we were like, oh, what should we have? And somebody mentioned sushi. And in my mind, I don't know what I was expecting, but definitely not what they provided.
Yeah.
It was a full like a huge lazy Susan almost.
yeah.
That was just covered in sushi that they had just made fresh. They had onion rings, chicken tenders, like so many things
Tempura vegetables.
Yes.
hidden sashimi or
Yeah, there's a pile of tuna and salmon underneath all the rolls. I'm like, holy shit.
Where'd that come from?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And then
wake up with French toast and chilaquiles and huevos rancheros.
it was
like
incredible. But
wild.
then Super Bowl is really what impressed me. The courses and the layers
The
of
timing
meal.
of when they brought it out.
How many avocados do you think they went through?
A lot.
We had heaps of guacamole with every meal.
Yeah. It was
I
incredible.
consumed more guacamole in this 6-day span than I probably have in my life.
And on
Guac
top of the
cutting,
guac, they like used a lot of sliced avocados for like on top of just dishes. I've probably had the most avocados I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
this trip.
and they were all fresh, wonderful.
This house was like the Bachelor mansion. If anyone's seen that show.
I was thinking like,
incredible.
if this house was 45 minutes from everything, there would have been some inconvenience, but I still would have enjoyed it because of how the house was. Normally, you get an Airbnb and you it's underwhelming when you get there. It doesn't match the photos, the roominess of the house. But this one, like, the pictures didn't do it justice.
It didn't.
The house was way more spacious inside. The outside was fucking insane. A 24-hour heated pool. There's bathrooms outside.
2 outdoor bathrooms, which for 12 guys, very
and
necessary.
it was perfect because
Yeah.
it was like off of the dirt road and all that, but we were still 10 minutes away from Squid Row.
Yeah.
10 minutes away from everything. It was a
5
quick
minutes
Uber
from
ride.
Costco, yeah.
It was fucking insane.
Yeah, these guys, they did it right. An incredible house. And let's see. So, like I said, Thursday night, then Friday comes around, everyone shows up. We go to a steakhouse. Someone should have told the steakhouse they should have had some steak. That was odd,
fucking
right?
That was weird.
That was weird. We showed up. We had a reservation with 12 guys. They go, so we only have like 2 ribeyes?
It almost seemed like they were withholding.
Yeah, that like we can only to your party because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what about all those
We have to
guys?
like serve the rest of the night, so
Yeah.
we're only going to give you these many.
Lesson learned, I feel like if we end up in that situation again, we like almost pre-order our stuff. We'd be like, this is what everyone in our party wants.
Kill a
think
cow, we're
that
coming.
was
Yeah.
not like I don't think that was a common thing. I think we just ended up at the wrong restaurant.
Yeah.
The food was good though.
No,
right?
it was good.
Yeah.
But that, like, I remember before we left and me and Mitch were looking at steakhouses to go to, and I'm going to put that on me because I'm like, I'm looking at menus and I'm like, this one seems to be like less expensive than everywhere else. Let's go with this one.
Yeah.
It ended up being one of the most expensive dinners.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
less options. And that's part of the review I left for the house. I'm like, there was not any meals that we had outside of this house that was better than anything you served.
Yeah.
And the
very
chef was
true.
almost in fucking like tears when he was
Yeah.
he was like, thank you for such a great, incredible review. And then you look at all the other reviews below mine, everyone said the exact same thing. I didn't
Yeah.
even look at that when I booked the house.
So speaking of reviews, when we were in the airport, you had said, they left me a review, but I can't read it until I leave them a review.
Oh, theirs was basic.
Oh, okay.
It was the host that we didn't really deal with. He goes, it was a great group. They respected the rules of the house. And I think he just left it so we would be reminded to leave one. But then once I left like a very like detailed, heartfelt, specific review, they all started texting me and they're like, we would love to have you guys back. You were a memorable group. You guys were because this house attracts a lot of bachelor and bachelorette parties. So you know that they've seen some shit. You know that they've dealt with rude people.
Yeah.
You know they've dealt with very difficult people. And they're like, you guys were so easy. It's like to think of 12 fucking guys that are there to get rowdy. We didn't expect how little we had to take care of shit. Meanwhile, here we are on the other side, blown the fuck away from everything they provided.
Yeah.
Like, what would have happened if we were assholes and we're like, we require 5-star experience? Would we have gotten 10-star experience? Like, what would they wipe my
doubt
ass
it.
after a poop?
Right.
Jesus.
I mean, I made coffee one morning, and I felt like as if I insulted them because I did something on my own. I was like, oh no, like I didn't do that for the rest of the trip.
I do love, too, that when we arrived on Thursday, there was just a counter full of margaritas already made. Like, welcome to the house.
That's
Yeah.
pretty great.
We're making tacos for you. And then it happens to be some of the best, like, fish and shrimp tacos I've ever had.
Yeah.
And unlimited portions of it.
Yeah. Shout out Lil Javier.
Yeah.
That kid was
Little Javi, Big Javi,
Mida, yeah. Well, I mean, that was I didn't know that we had a kid who was also helping. And so, because I got there a little bit later because my flight got delayed, so I Ubered in. And then all of a sudden, like, Jordan had, like, tried to get some cigars, ended up getting, like, 6 packs of cigarettes. And then, like, the kid, like, shows up. He's just, like, you know, packing the cigarettes, just handing them over. I'm like, where did you come from? Are you a ghost?
The entire housekeeping crew and the both chefs were fucking incredible. That kid was hands down my favorite. Yeah. I just love that when we wake up and our first stop was always, you know, cracking a beer, making a drink, and we're poolside. That kid shows up with a full backpack, like showered, dressed, ready to go to work. And this is like, what, an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid?
Yeah.
He's probably 10, 11, 12.
And Mexican years, probably 2 years. Then he puts his backpack down, and then he's like fucking Jeffrey from Fresh Prince. What do you need? And I remember when you were like, I think Braxton was like, "Oh, we need some weed." And then he tells the fucking chef, they go and get weed, and we're like, "Oh, we also need paper." I mean, there's no fucking question.
No.
He goes out and fucking gets it. He goes and gets cigarettes, and we're like, "We need 3 more bottles of whiskey right away."
Yeah.
Well, let's make it clear. It wasn't just the kid going to get all these things.
Might have
His
been.
dad went with
That's
him.
how I like to picture it. Because at the end, when we were leaving, they had, we were paying for like, and we didn't pay for the service. I want to make that clear. We were paying for like the groceries that we would have gotten anyway,
Yeah.
and like the shopping trips and all that. But they had envelopes for tips, and everyone had an envelope but the kid. So I had stuffed money in those envelopes, and then the kid was just sitting there by himself, seeing if we need anything as we were leaving. And I called him over, and I handed him like 200 pesos, which is, I don't know, fucking $10. I handed him 200 pesos, and this kid, like, he goes, "For me?" Like, he was so grateful. That's the kind of person you want to give a bigger tip to.
Right.
He's like, "For me?" And he was so thankful. And then, like, you guys give him money. Devin gives him. Everyone starts giving him money. And then I go to Myra, and I'm like, "Hey, how come he doesn't have an envelope? He's carrying a bunch of cash right now." And they're like, "You guys are giving him money?" Not that they were questioning it, but they're
Right.
like, "Oh, that's so sweet."
That's
Like,
very
and then they
sweet,
make
yeah.
him an envelope. I'm like, "Yeah, this kid worked just as hard as everybody else.
true.
He was on the move, like,
Yeah.
all the time."
My favorite part about interacting with Lil Javi was with Big Javi and Myra. They would come up to you and understanding that you don't speak Spanish, and they'd kind of be like, "Como se dice?" But Little Javi would just come up to you and just speak confidently in Spanish and look at you like, "You don't get what I'm fucking saying?"
Try to help you, bro.
In his little fucking apron.
Yeah, I just love it. Sometimes he would just like stand there in the corner, and he would have like his arms crossed or like hands down at his hips or whatever, just like ready, like assign me something. It was great.
That was just overall and this isn't like, I don't want to name something the best and take away from any other trips, but that was hands down the best trip I've ever taken. For a bunch of different reasons. It was like, no one died.
That's
No
true.
one
We'll
went to
get into that
jail.
here in a second.
That would be really hard to explain to the significant others. And also, like, all of the stuff we mentioned for the house, but I could not have gotten married at the worst time. People have kids. People are like, starting new jobs and shit. And it's like, to take double-digit number of dudes internationally for a bachelor party for damn near a fucking week was a hard feat to accomplish. And everyone from Hawaii to Atlanta to fucking everywhere came together and
New
showed up
Zealand
in that
even.
trip. It
Yeah.
was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was really cool to see, and we could tell, at least I could tell, how grateful you were and how
For sure.
Yeah, baby, I had some emotional nights. I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just, like those high thoughts, I'd just be 4 black and mild deep. I was like,
You kind of pull yourself out of it real quick. You're like,
I did that
"Whoa."
several times. I was like, all these fucks are here. Like, everyone that I have like a different relationship with, while Jermon's taking his ass jogging and shit, I'm like, this dude's here. This Morgan's, like, all my high school friends, my friends from work, all the ones I worked with at previous jobs, like, everyone came together. Austin, who I've been friends with for just a few years, was fucking there.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was.
Yeah, and I mean, like, guys from your childhood, with Jay and Morgan and Devin and all that. So that was really cool. A few call-outs from this trip I want to talk about. Number one, I want to talk about Mango Deck, and this guy being the judge. I want to talk about the incident that happened after Mango Deck.
Okay.
And then we should probably just talk about the Super Bowl in general, and then parlay it into the game. So, did I miss anything of those kind of 3 big events there?
We don't need to cover the strip clubs.
No.
What strip clubs?
Strip clubs?
Yeah. I don't know if I would recommend a Mexican strip club. I think that the expectation and the reality were very different.
We don't need to go into detail with strip clubs, but
All
like,
we're going to say is if you're going to go to a strip club in Cabo, go to the Las Vegas one.
Yeah.
go to a local one, but also one of the things that I've been to a lot of strip clubs in the U.S., and this was our first time going to a Mexican strip club. The thing that was really different is how Number one, it's closer to a brothel.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very not weird for me, but it's a little different with how casual they are with presenting options that
Their
you can
offerings,
do,
yeah.
their offerings with the girls. So that's, a little eye-opening. But when I showed up to the first one being on the last Uber, and I showed up and everyone had a girl they were talking to, I was like, okay, that was fast. I sit down and a girl started talking to me, and then I realized I'm not really into this one. Let's do some switcheroos. And then the girl's like, no. And I'm like, so I pull out my Google Translate because I need to get down to the bottom of this. And I found out that when you walk into some of these local strip clubs, a girl claims you.
Yeah, you're assigned.
You're assigned. And they don't just switch without a mutual agreement with another girl and the other party. And they stay with you as long as you're buying them drinks. Their cue to leave / you're not interested anymore is if you turn down the server with buying that girl a drink. It took me about 30 minutes to learn that at the first place. Yeah. And then after that, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So after the strip club, we get to the Mango Deck the next day. The Mango Deck is a day club that has
Beach bar.
It's a beach bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like a pool party or anything like
No.
that. It's right next to the
You're in the
ocean.
sand.
But yeah, you are in the sand, and they have all of these different activities where people will come around and do Jello shots, and they were beating the shit out of you guys, which was hilarious. They would be whistling and like pinching your nipples.
Long pours with mostly sugary shots.
Yeah, but then so the probably the pinnacle of Mango Deck though was there were several competitions. There was like
Yeah, it was kind of like a variety show. Almost.
there was an MC, there was a stage, there was a DJ who was on point with all of his sound effects. But then they did like a hottest guy competition where they're grinding on a girl and everything like that. Well, after that, they also
They
flipped
did
the
push-up
script.
competition.
They did a push-up competition.
There was a whole bunch of shit they were doing.
There were actual performers who did like fucking breakdancing and shit.
Some
and
B-boys.
There were some B-boys.
There were.
I thought about going up there and showing off my skills.
You go with Jabberwocky with it. We would have left.
And in our
we don't know him.
And in the push-up competition, we had a couple of guys. We had Jermon and Morgan.
Yeah,
Way
we had
to let
somebody in the
us
final
down,
three.
Jamon. Your military push-ups.
I mean, like the other guys were cheating. By the way, the other guys were going like downward dog and like trying to like. Had they been in just push-up form, because Jermon had too much pride to cheat.
Also, the X factor that people didn't know before they committed is that your feet would be up on a chair.
Yeah.
So that made it a lot harder. And you went on their count, so you couldn't just go. It's like you're planking, essentially. Like you're holding your form, and then they go down, up, and then you hold it again. So...
But after
a lot of people are struggling.
After like the push-up or the hottest guy, whatever competition, you go out and you're starting to smoke on the beach. You're talking with actually one of the guys who was in the competition, who's like a local dancer who does this competition because he knows the MC and he's just like there. He was very good.
Yeah. Vibes guy.
Got me hard. But then they say, okay, we're going to do the whole thing on the girls' side. We start screaming to you to get back in. And the way
it was a twerk competition.
It was a twerk competition. The way that the judge is selected is by how much you are willing or your group is willing to put up in dollars. And so it becomes an auction to see who is going to be the twerk judge.
The one guy judge.
And at first, because Miguel, like you said, is outside of the seating area, and at first he was announcing this, and there wasn't really anybody going up.
Yeah.
And so we all were like, let's get Miguel. Doesn't look like there's anybody interested. We can get him up there, which would be funny, obviously, and we won't have to pay a lot because there's not a lot of competition.
There was no competition at the moment, no. However, another gentleman entered the arena, and another gentleman who was also on his bachelor party had some friends with some deeper pockets.
Trust
And-
fund, baby. Southern California bitches.
It's kind of, it reminded me of the guys that were at, what was it, Silver Lake or whatever. For your, what was that? Your bachelor party, the one with the boat,
Oh, yes.
the entitled kid with the daddy's
Yes.
boat or whatever.
Yes.
Just kind of reminded
That's
me
who they
of
were.
that.
Laguna Beach guys.
Yeah, so we start going. It started at like $40. Then it went to $100. Then it went to $200, $300. We're going back and forth, and we're pooling money together.
Maybe we don't name the exact amount for the wives.
Okay, we won't name the exact amount for the wives, but I will tell you this: and we never got close to this amount. The other group that ended up losing apparently had $3,000 to burn on this competition.
Obviously, they didn't.
And they apparently don't love their friend enough, because this not only became a thing to get Miguel up there to enjoy himself, but we had to fucking win.
Yeah.
Those guys were not going. They were fucking flipping us
Yeah,
off.
I was just gonna
They
say.
were instigating us, and we're like, fuck you, we're going to win.
And we absolutely did.
And we won.
And we absolutely did.
It was. I said on my way up to the stage, I'm like, do not exceed a certain amount because this would be stupid.
We doubled it.
We more than doubled that.
And I went up there on stage, and the 8 girls that were ready to go compete were all sitting there, and then the guy that was being pitted against me, he's like, I hope your friends outbid my friends because I really don't want to do this. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do this either because of the amount that it's getting up to. And his friends were just like, yeah, fuck them, fuck that guy. I got $3,000 to use on this. And that's when I was like, hey, cut this. They got a lot more money. But you guys wouldn't stop.
Yeah, what was interesting was when I thought we were out of money, Jermon, who brought a fanny pack,
Reach deep
just
into that
went
fanny.
deep into that fanny pack, and he made sure that you were up there.
When I saw my group's faces that they were not smiling anymore, that it became like we
it was
weren't
serious.
losing, I just took my shirt off and sat down. That's when I was like,
He did.
I
No
don't
one
think
asked him.
I don't think we're losing this shit.
Nobody asked you.
No
to
one
take
asked
your
me to take
shirt
my
off.
shirt off, but
No.
I'm like, how many chances am I going to get in life to take my shirt off in front of this many
and
people?
this is an ideal time.
Yeah, I'm like, every chance I get, I take my shirt off. This also, I mean, it could not be more clear, and I don't really give a fuck that they wanted the better looking guy with a 6-pack with a better body to be there. Maybe the
He was
girls wanted
definitely
that
a frat
too.
bro.
But
yeah.
this isn't the first time I've
Hey,
beaten guys better
Money
looking
talks,
than me.
baby. Money talks.
Yeah.
Listen, it's pretty common in my life that I beat guys better looking than me. So I'm like, you can go sit the fuck down. I'm pretty sure this is mine.
I think that because we also realized that as your group, that became the motivation. It's like, oh, you think you're better than our boy? Not today.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Frat Bro, and with deep pockets, like we're fucking winning.
it was pretty
That was more for us.
satisfying to be like, my friends are richer than I thought.
Yeah.
Or dumb.
Or dumber.
dumber.
Yeah, we're just
Fuck.
dumber.
Definitely both.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take any credit for this. Obviously, Jermon, as we mentioned, there's other individuals who
Mitch.
I wasn't going to name
Mitch.
names, but Mitch,
Sorry, I'm just kidding. Not Mitch. Not
No,
Mitch.
Mitch, no,
who
Mitch.
definitely shelled out. Because at first I was like, oh shit, yeah, here's $60.
I think I also threw in around 60 or 80 bucks.
I was like,
yeah.
here's $60. Let's get him up there. And then it started growing, and I was like, okay, you guys got this.
You take an Uber back to the house. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we could afford an Uber at that point.
Yeah, but it was very impressive by our friend group. What a moment! And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it might have cost a couple $100 or whatever, but we will never forget that.
Never forget that.
Never forget that. And I will say one of the funnier moments, which you didn't realize at first,
You did not.
that video that was sent, there was one, I think it was the very last girl, because he was going down the line, the MC, saying, hey, what's your name, where are you from, all that kind
It
of
was
shit.
the second to last because
Okay.
Gabby,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
girl that we wanted you to choose, was
Yeah.
the winner. So second to last.
So there's 8 of them, I believe, and we get to the 7th.
The one you liked the most.
And all of them are like, oh, yeah, I'm Nicole. I'm from San Diego. Like, all hyped to be there.
Yeah.
And then they get to this girl, and he's like, what's your name? And she's like, I'm Monica. And where are you from? I have AIDS.
And you didn't hear that, and then
I
she
didn't
put her
catch
pussy
that.
in his face.
I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Whoa, oh, okay."
Yeah.
There was
This
like
ain't no honey pot.
a collective, like, all right,
Yeah. Well,
okay, twerk that ass, girl.
yeah, get in there. Yeah.
Don't touch me, police.
And you would have liked to have chosen her. We appreciate that you went with the group consensus, which was Gabby.
Oh, she was the best. I just thought it was closer than what people thought. I did want to submit for a dance-off, but
That was-
the guy made me was trying to make me pay more. And I'm
As
like,
if we didn't pay enough, because that was what you're right. That was what was so funny. It was like the last two girls were fighting for it, rightfully so. And you just go, I have an idea, and it was like another $100. I'm like, fuck you, because that dance off would have been incredible.
and I feel like it's also very much on brand for me to just absolutely kill a moment where he's like getting the crowd to cheer, and then as he's swinging the mic over to me, he goes, "And the winner is," and he just wants me to announce the winner and go, "I have an idea," and I wanted a dance off, and he's like, "More money," and I'm like, 7 it is.
The last one. So after Mango Deck, we go out. You can't go anywhere on the Cabo Beach without being panhandled for anything, really. And that includes when you're up into a bar. So we go to this bar down towards the end of the beach, and we're sitting there, and people are coming up and asking us to buy jewelry, T-shirts,
Headbands, bandanas.
we want a massage. Someone came up and wanted to sell us some cigars, and Jordan was interested in some cigars. A guy started to be a little bit more aggressive with him, and then it got to the point in the sale where he thought he had it, or he thought, hey, if I cut these cigars, it will make you feel inclined to buy them. At that point, the price became too steep. He didn't want it. He already had a cigar in hand. The guy lost the sale. He got pissed.
Well, and I think it's important to say, Miguel is sitting right next to Jordan during these negotiations. And Miguel says, jokingly, I know your boss. It's okay. You can give this discount that Jordan is asking for. And the guy looks at Miguel and says, you don't know my boss. My boss is the Cartel. And Miguel, smartly so, goes, yeah, you're right. I don't know your fucking boss. And I don't want to.
Yeah.
El Chapo? Not
El
familiar.
Chapo?
I mean, we can all kind of infer that that's where it was going to go. And so the guy loses the sale, basically plays himself because now he's cut these cigars. And I still feel like he could probably sell them, but he's like stomping his foot.
Yeah,
and
he
all
threw
this
a
other-
tantrum.
He threw a like it was a little odd.
Yeah.
It was very aggressive. So he leaves the bar area. He goes out towards the beach, and he pretends like.
And
Go
let's
ahead.
make it clear. We're on the sand.
on the
We're
beach.
on the beach. There is a thin rope that is separating us from being, quote unquote, in the bar and
on the beach.
on the beach.
Yeah. He goes and he takes his phone out and he pretends to make a phone call, which lasted like all of 5 seconds. Then he takes out his phone and he starts pointing at us to either take a picture or a video. No sooner does that happen than our friend Jesse gets up, jumps on top of the table, over the table and over the rope, and goes and pushes the guy who has now threatened our safety, I suppose. And none of us like jump up to be like, are we going to stop this? I think at about like 5-10 seconds, I'm like, maybe I'll just go put myself in between these guys. It was a temporary vibe killer only because we thought, what are the ramifications for us in this situation where we're all of a sudden like in for 100 pesos that we couldn't lean? Now we're going to get shaken down for even more money here later on. I don't know.
And I'll admit, I saw this happening from start to finish. I saw the whole interaction. I saw the guy walk out frustrated and immediately take out his phone, start that phone call, do the videoing. I saw it all. And in my mind, I was like, this is not good that he's videoing us. But not once did I think about springing into action. So, and let's take this guy at his word. If he really does work for the cartel and we pissed him off, I appreciate that Jesse stood up for us and was like, hey, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Delete those photos. Delete that video. However, a great way to get killed by the cartel.
Great way to really put your head.
It's to piss off the cigar guy on the beach. So I'm a little bit conflicted. At the end of the day, because we are here and alive, I respect Jesse's decision to defend us. But in the moment, I was a little concerned.
I think I was also conflicted, and as you can see, I didn't react. Like, I feel like.
And your back was towards the beach thing. He jumped over you, didn't he?
No, I was looking at it. Like,
looking
I was
at it,
back,
yeah.
but I was.
It was like Jesse, me, Jordan, Miguel on that line.
I know there's no way this would have happened, but if we were all sober, I feel like we all would have had a different reaction to this. Maybe we would have bounced and dipped, but everyone was so drunk and relaxed and getting foot massages.
Getting foot massages
and
from what's her face, yeah.
If something irked me, normally I would be the first one to be like, Jesse, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
But I was like, is this really that bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I just kind of like.
And it's like, can you be mad at your friend for being
standing
the
up
only
for us?
one who stood up for us?
Yeah.
But
He was not the first person. I'm not saying he was the last, but he was not the first person I expected to do any of that.
And it's not like he was fucked up or like that was a super drunk decision. Like,
No,
that was him.
That was a pure Papa Bear moment.
That was just him. That was love.
It was, and he's like, God damn, I have to do this for Jordan. Of course, Jordan's going to be involved in it. But I mean, like, ultimately, and the reason why I was like concerned initially, but as I thought about it more, I was like, ultimately, this sales guy played himself.
Yeah, for $5.
Over $5. And so it's like, if you're going to get mad, like, he's not going to go snitching on that because that ultimately could come back on him even worse.
Yeah,
so I'm sure that was,
honestly, he played himself.
Yeah, he did.
He thought he was going to shock some fear into us, and then Jesse Revol came through the door.
But
I'll tell you.
don't say his full name on here. The cartel could
Also,
be
if it's like, yeah, he played himself. I totally agree. And I do appreciate Jesse doing that. This also could have been a complete turnaround where we played ourselves for $5 and,
and then,
now we're getting shaken
and then
down
we're
or
fucking
getting
dead.
hunted.
If you don't think that we all watched our backs on the way back to the Uber, we were all very much
After,
watching
because
our
in that
backs on the
moment,
way
I
back.
sobered up a little bit. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, who's walking by this beach? Who's making eyes
Yeah.
at us? And thankfully, there was no one.
People
But
were
I-
on edge, for sure.
But I tell you what, there was one individual who was terrified.
who got physically ill because of it. We won't talk about it. I mean,
Sour D, baby.
Sour D,
Yeah,
baby.
he didn't like. He was already worried about going.
Oh
to
my
Mexico.
God!
Yeah.
And we won't say his
Sour
name,
Diesel,
but
man.
Sour D looked into my eyes and said, "So we're leaving, right?"
That's what he did.
And I was like, "I don't think so, buddy. I think we're good to go."
You know, I appreciate everybody being there equally. He was really only there for me.
Oh, he was in a state of fear since the
There
moment
was
he
there was
landed.
no like I get to go on vacation. There was no I get to go to Mexico and go on the beach. Like that was 1,000% just being there for me. He was worried about going to Mexico. He had never been to Mexico. He was worried about everything that comes with it, and to be presented with his fear coming to reality with what happened there. I mean, that made him physically sick.
And then we left him at the house
He
alone.
was for 6 days. He was outside of his comfort zone. I don't think he was that comfortable. I think he had fun.
Yeah.
You know,
And I thought that we accepted, we didn't,
Yeah.
weren't too hard on him.
but I do appreciate that. It was, I know it was a little different for him, but
I'll never forget. I was sitting there, and this was the kind of the last night, Sunday night after the Super Bowl. There was a beer pong game going on, and there was decisions as to whether we're going to go out or not. And Sour D was kind of 50-50. He was like, I don't know. I'm still not feeling great. But he was playing beer pong with Jordan. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but they were in a pretty heated match. It was down to Final Cup. Mitch
and Adrian.
Adrian had been running the table. and Sour D hits the final cup, and Jordan's drunk and grabs him by the fucking mouth and says, "Drink," and just starts high pouring.
I missed that. I wish I would have seen that.
He grabs him by the fucking cheeks and starts forcing beer down his throat. And Sour
That's what we
D
do.
is like, no, and like almost throws up. And that's when he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll come," and then never came out of his room.
Yeah.
That's what made him sick. God damn
You're
it.
gonna
Fucking Jordan.
Here I was being nice and being like, maybe you just like shouldn't have like brushed your teeth with the water.
No.
You're just like to his core was physically ill.
Yeah. It was fear illness.
We love you, Sour D.
Sour D.
You're going to see him officiate the wedding. You're going to see how professional he is. You're going to be like, we know what you did in Mexico, dude.
You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my phone out and it's just gonna be me. Because I've got some receipts from Mango Deck from Sour D. Whether he wanted to do it or not, he got himself. It's nipples.
I wish I
pinched.
would have seen that shit.
There was a moment at Mango Deck. You guys seen The Grinch Who Stole Christmas?
Yeah.
The Jim Carrey version.
Jim Carrey, yeah.
At the end when he goes to the Hubilation and they put him in the chair of cheer and they're
Quite
forcing
the cut, yeah.
pudding and fudge in his mouth, and at some point he's just like, "Fuck it, okay, give me it." That's exactly
what happened.
because he was resisting so much, and we would not let him say no.
Wallow in my own self-loathing. I'm
5:13.
I wish I would have seen the Jordan chokehold and forcing a drink down his throat. I don't know where else could I have been that I fucking missed that?
But so then we get to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was great. We got to watch it. I would not say had to watch it. We got to watch it in Spanish.
Let's also not blow past before Super Bowl. The IV drip was nice.
It was.
I wish we would have done it on the last day.
Yeah.
But to do it the night before we went the hardest was maybe not the smartest idea, but I'd never experienced an IV drip before.
Like
that, and that was
imagine if we had
clutch.
that IV drip like on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
or like Monday, it would have been fucking perfect. But like I felt like I had not had anything to drink or smoke Sunday morning when we did that.
Oh yeah.
I was ready to go. That's why we went the hard. I took 7 shots in a row Sunday night.
You did.
I was fucking ready to go.
Yeah. So I didn't really like the one that was in my wrist or in my
was
hand.
Right
Yeah,
there.
we
I
all
ended
had-
up getting do you get a bruise? I got a bruise on
No,
mine.
I ain't no
No.
bitch.
Well, I just think they stuck it in incorrectly because I was like in pain the whole time. I didn't like it.
That's
It's
bad.
not getting needles in your hand isn't comfortable.
Peter.
Yeah, all right.
That made sense for me, but that's a bad look for you.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
know. I
'cause-
don't realize that. Yeah,
'Cause
I've got great veins.
Because I don't do housework. I hire people to do housework, so they couldn't find veins all up and down my arms.
Even pull this up. I've got
Yeah,
great veins.
So they had to
because
do it
we had
here.
been drinking.
I great veins. I've always prided myself on my very pasty ass veins, and they couldn't. They were you're too big.
Same thing happened to me. I get my blood drawn and have needles stuck in me all the time. And usually my right arm under my elbow is prime.
Clutch.
And he looked at it and he was like, "How much did you drink last night?"
It is
Also,
sucked up.
I don't know if you guys just did the regular IV, but I had something added to mine.
Oh, did you do like the vitamin C or
The
whatever?
fucking Toradol.
Ooh.
So you know what the
Were you
NBA players
buzzing?
fucking take, like when they can't move? Because I was like, I kind of have like a throbbing pain in my left eye. They're like, we'll add the Toradol, which is like ibuprofen times 50,000.
Wow.
I couldn't feel a fucking thing.
Maybe
I couldn't
that's
feel
why.
anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah. At first I got it and I was like, "Oh, I feel good." But then like 2 hours later, I was like,
You remember
so fresh.
that night when we went out to Squid Row and I was like down on the floor, like dancing,
Yeah.
like down
you
squatting.
were low. Yeah.
I was pretty low. It took maybe a couple days, but Wednesday morning when I woke up,
You were like,
I was so fucking sore. I also had bruises everywhere. And it took me back to like when I was playing football and we would take ibuprofen and you just wouldn't feel anything during the game. And
Yeah.
then you wake up and you're like, I'm purple everywhere.
Yeah.
And everywhere hurts. That's essentially what happened. I was protected Sunday and
You
Monday.
dropped it low at Capitol. That's for sure. You did. So Super Bowl happens, and we've got not only like the spread that we talked about earlier, we've got like 2 of the TVs on. You could watch the game from the pool. It was incredible.
It was amazing.
Game starts, we're an hour ahead, so it's almost like sunset, I think, when it started. I will tell you that I was so drunk. Let me tell you this. I didn't realize it. At halftime, I did not realize that was Samuel L. Jackson. I thought that was Emmitt Smith. I was so drunk that
Typical
I thought...
Peter, all black people look alike.
Yeah, drunk Pete is a racist.
Uncle Sam over there. I can't even get the right one. But if you look at the 2 of them, they're pretty. They look pretty similar. But yeah, I didn't
don't think
Doubling
they do
down.
at all.
Was I the only one who thought that was
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith? Okay, that was my bad. So
Also,
tequila and
I know
pineapple.
that you
was-
pointed this out, but like we didn't get the luxury of watching commercials. That's a U.S. thing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
We watched the same Mexican Wingstop commercial
So-
70
over
times.
and over. The limon peeper, limon peeper wings over and over. Outside of the game being a blowout, that was the best Super Bowl experience I've ever had. I mean, I killed a bottle of Jack Daniels in the first half.
Yeah.
Just drinking and smoking, hitting the pool, getting back out. There's fucking food everywhere. And I'm like, this is, how are you going to top this?
The sparkler.
Well,
yeah.
and I had been aware of this because I was talking to Myra about the Super Bowl menu. But she was like, okay, we'll bring out this, we'll bring out that. And I was like, oh, well, I thought we asked for pork belly and steak bites. And she goes, yeah, well, and she looks it up on her phone, the translate, and she goes, stages. We'll bring it out in stages.
Yeah.
So literally at like third quarter.
If she said patience grasshopper in Spanish, that would have been incredible.
In the third quarter, they come out with this huge platter with a sparkler coming out of it.
That's true. Yeah.
With steak bites that are spread over a bed of mashed potatoes and gravy.
Those mashed potatoes were incredible. Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit, this is incredible. And then at the end of the game, a whole nother platter of pork belly. Like, it was unbelievable.
This is after like the hot wings, the barbecue chicken,
guacamole,
the chips and queso and
ceviche.
guac. I'm like, holy fuck, man! There's so much food.
Yeah.
That was like the best spread that they did outside of us sitting at a table. Because I mean, I don't even know how to pin each of the meals next to each other, but that spread was fucking. I thought we were done eating after the steak bites. And then they come out with a gold crown. For me,
that's right.
and then like the pork belly and the steak bites and the sparklers, I'm like, holy shit, man! Like, and at that point, because obviously we can't gamble in Mexico unless you have Bovada, and you're placing live bets. But I'd placed a shit ton of bets. I'd already won bets by the second quarter.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm good. I placed a $20 bet. I've won $100. Doesn't matter which way it goes. I've already won. I'm riding fucking high. I'm wasted. Won a bet. I'm like, this is fucking incredible. How do you top this experience ever?
Yeah. The game itself was a lot to be desired. I know that like there was, congratulations to your Eagles, Braxton. But yeah, I think that like in general, I mean, we're not going to say anything that hasn't been said already. It's just like, it kind of lived up to what we said, where like guys, impact players on the Eagles were going to have to do their things. Patrick Mahomes suffering yet just like another gigantic defeat in one of the biggest games, which, he's going to have to live with.
I've never seen somebody's value drop so fast.
That's fucking insane, though.
It is.
That's fucking insane, because I think majority of the guys, at least when we were watching, were cheering for Philly.
Yeah.
It's the common thing of like, we don't want the Spurs to win again. We don't want the Lakers to win again. Like, let's see Jalen Hurts and Saquon win one. We've seen the Chiefs over and over. And I think outside of like 2 or 3 guys, everyone wanted Philly to win. But mostly people wanted a good game, not that blowout. But to like everything that came out after that game, that like Mahomes is never going to be a Brady. He is so like, I mean, they are treating Patrick Mahomes like he's fucking Aiden O'Connell after that game. Like, this dude is still not in his 30s. He's still made a shit ton of Super Bowls. He's been at every AFC championship but one. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right. It's like we're looking at Patrick Mahomes as if his career is over.
It's
but
so stupid.
It's so very much at the beginning. But, I mean, if we're looking into, like, GOAT legacies and everything like that, like, not only is Tom Brady calling that game, but then it's like, oh, the comparison of, like, when Brady lost the Super Bowl or other big games, how much he lost by. And it was always, like, by a score, less than 10 points or something like that. And then you look at the Mahomes side when he's lost in the Super Bowls, they're just blowouts or whatnot. But
it's not fair.
Not yet.
I mean, it's way too early. It might become fair, but at the moment, it's way too early.
But to tarnish his quote unquote GOAT legacy, name another quarterback that's accomplished what he's accomplished. I don't give a fuck if that game was a blowout. Like, what Brady did is out of this world.
But
and he still has a chance at that.
That's the thing. The only person he's being compared against is
The
Brady.
greatest.
Yeah.
It's a LeBron Jordan.
I just don't
debate.
like this thing where you get to praise someone. You can praise someone without tearing somebody down. And I think this is more of like credit to Jalen Hurts. Because
Absolutely.
it wasn't Saquon who won that game. Saquon
Jalen
got
Hurts.
him there.
Yeah.
Saquon got like 50 yards out of 25 carries. I mean, it was like 2 yards per carry. But Jalen Hurts carried them to that win.
Yeah.
And it was about time he got some fucking credit because he did. He won that game for them.
Absolutely.
But
And then that kill shot was insane too. I think it was the Devontae Smith one touchdown where it's just like a perfect dime pass when they're already up by a bunch.
But I think you can credit Jalen Hurts without tearing down Mahomes because if I'm nitpicking and looking at what made the Chiefs lose, and like we've gone over this back and forth. The quarterbacks get the most credit, but they also get blamed if they lose. I'm looking at Mahomes' go-to. Travis Kelce was nowhere to be found in that game.
Yeah.
Well, and it's I don't think it's Travis Kelce's fault. The Kansas City Chiefs have been known this season at least of having a solid front line protecting Patrick Mahomes, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
What was it? 6 sacks that they had?
Yeah, I mean, like they were bringing 4 all night, and it
Exactly.
wasn't. They didn't even blitz. They just
But I think
pressure.
that's credit to that
pressure.
D line though.
That's what I'm
That
saying.
D line was
I don't-
they were ready to go.
I don't think it's a knock against Patrick Mahomes. Yes, you got to get the ball out quicker. I definitely don't think it's a knock against Travis Kelce. The offensive line, I don't know what they were thinking, that it was going to be a cakewalk, but they got fucked up.
Yeah.
Also, it's not a small thing to lose Chris Jones. Like
Right,
early in the
He
game.
gets, it's neck
Yeah.
hurts.
Chris Jones was, is a huge part of probably the
100%.
best defender in Kansas City. To lose him,
Arguably the best defensive lineman in the league.
yeah.
And when we think about the Chiefs as well and their offense with Travis Kelce, a lot of it is like, oh, how does that guy get open off of like, broken plays or anything like that? There was just no time for the Chiefs to ever have a broken play because of the amount of pressure that.
And
was
remember
coming
early
from.
on in the season when people are like, because the way that Philly ended their season like 2 seasons ago, it was like, what the fuck happened to you guys?
Yeah.
You were dominating, coming off of a Super Bowl appearance, and all of a sudden you guys just fell apart. And then starting the season, they're winning, and I remember in this, like early on in the season, we're like, this team's not even complete. Like there's a bunch of defenders that are hurt, and then they all came back at the right fucking time. Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, they all came back, and you saw the difference when they're healthy. When that defense was healthy and you relied less on Saquon running for 200 yards, I mean, it was a difference maker. It was a fucking game changer to be able to stop Kelce, to be able to stop Hollywood Brown. I mean, if the Chiefs were healthy and had Rice and all that, but like, what do they rush for?
And that's the thing. I mean, you name the Chiefs roster with Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Hopkins and Kelce and Hunt, and it's like, oh yeah, you can name 1 or 2 guys that were injured, but it's like you have one of the deepest rosters in the NFL.
And they've gotten there with that roster. I mean,
yeah, you've done it with less.
Worthy had 157 yards.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get the normal help that they do from the second and third option. And normally you would get more out of Pacheco. You would get more out of Hunt. They just couldn't, and that's credit to Philly's defense because they fucking stuffed them. They couldn't do a goddamn thing.
Well, and I do appreciate a Super Bowl where you come away with no questions. I feel like oftentimes with a lot of these close Super Bowls, you can say, oh, well, if this and this, if that holding call wouldn't have happened to the Eagles 2 years ago, whatever it may be. This was cut and dry. You got your ass beat.
Also, very underrated from this Super Bowl. The biggest, redeeming factor or a guy that really came out of a slump, the kicker for Philly, has had a shit season, an absolute shit season. I don't think he missed a kick.
Yeah, he was coming into the playoffs. He was missing 20%.
Yeah, he didn't miss a PAT or a field goal. It was good to see.
I mean, you talk about, you say there was no question, but I think that, I guess the game, but kind of a post-mortem when you think of these two teams. There's obviously, the question mark of the Chiefs and dynasties, and it's interesting to see back-to-back champions, then all of a sudden, them fall from grace so hard because of just, how badly they lost that game. I'm not necessarily worried about the Chiefs, but one of the things that even people were talking about from the Eagles' perspective is, how do they replicate this when, now yet another offensive coordinator goes in Kellen Moore, and some people are like, are the Eagles good because Sirianni keeps hiring good coordinators, or are they good because of Sirianni? And I think that, Vic Fangio, their defensive coordinator, looks like he's going to be there long-term now. Maybe he's going to be their Spagnuolo. But I do kind of wonder if you look at either of these teams, which one you're, more concerned about, or on the flip side, which one are you more excited about?
I think there's always going to be less concern when you have Andy Reid. I think you ask the general public who's going to be able to be back in the Super Bowl easier next year. I think most people are going to say the Chiefs because Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, it's easy to see that. But honestly, the salary cap issues that the Chiefs are going to have are pretty detrimental. It's going to be quite the pulling a rabbit out of a hat for the Chiefs as an organization to make that happen. So if I'm, a fan and I can choose either team who to continue with for the next, let's say 3 years, I'd probably lean towards the Eagles. But at the end of the day, if you're the type of person that's going to be like, oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid can't do it, and you believe that, you're probably dumb.
You might be. It's not wise to bet against back-to-back.
Yeah,
champions.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think my opinion is really outside of even any logical take you can get from that question. It's more like, how hard it is to win a fucking make the Super Bowl, let alone win it.
Yeah.
You can hold on to a Super Bowl for a very long time, man. A long time. You can hold on to a championship for the rest of your fucking life. And I think the fact that the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 10 years, those fans have nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
They have given you some franchises don't ever see a fucking championship. So calm the fuck down. Everybody.
I think Philly as a whole is pretty satisfied.
Yeah, the failure of the Philadelphia 76ers, the Eagles make up for it.
Yeah.
That's how well they've done.
At this point, they're like, fuck Joel. Let's get rid of him.
Paul George, 2 points, and then goes to the beach? Who gives a shit?
Who cares? And we'll talk about the NBA here coming up. But you were talking about a team that's going to be in cap hell. The Bengals are one of those teams, if we can move on from the Super Bowl. They have franchise tag Tee Higgins. And, during Super Bowl week leading up, Joe Burrow is on Radio Row saying, I think that we can make this work. We can all have all 3 of our guys. To me, I kind of feel like in order to build a comprehensive team, you choose a guy, and to me that would be Jamar Chase, and then you backfill and you pay other guys. I think that the Bengals are wise to franchise tag him and to keep doing it. I don't think that the Bengals should give him a long-term deal because I think that they should take that money and use it somewhere else. Is Tee Higgins good? Is he borderline great? Yes. Should you take that money and distribute it elsewhere? Also yes. And then hope that you can draft well so that then you can, you know me, restart the clock on someone who can give you that backfill. You can find your worthy. You can find your guy.
Defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the Bengals have had all kinds of issues that have kept them from taking the next step. They've lost a whole season with Joe Burrow because of the offensive line was bad. They started bolstering that a little bit. But now on the defensive side, they've got some work to do, and I think that's where they should distribute that money.
I'm not worried about them, though, because I feel like Burrow is the type of quarterback that cares more about winning than his own quote-unquote legacy like a Cam Newton would. So I feel like Burrow would care about – he's had a taste of making it to the Super Bowl, and he cares about winning one and making it back. I don't see him being selfish and if I can have a better team around me, I'll make some sacrifices.
Does he put the franchise in a bit of a bind when he says, I think that we can make it work with all three of us on the team? Because what you're doing is signaling to the front office you need to make this work. Everything else be damned, versus the other company line stance, which is just they've got tough decisions to make. I love T and I would love to have him back, but blah blah blah. He could also make that, but he went with we can make this work, having all three guys.
I don't think either response is going to affect what the
front office will do.
Front office.
And I also don't think it's an all or nothing thing. Just because he said that doesn't mean that he doesn't give a shit about other departments on the team.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's not up to him.
He's signaling.
Nothing burger.
Signaling.
Such a media take. This is such a media take.
Even though I've been out of it, I keep pulling myself back in. And if we can transition to the NBA All-Star Weekend, this past weekend in the Bay Area, and it was yet again, it was destined to fail before it even started. People were figuratively wanting to dunk on it, even if it were kind of good. The
best thing that came out of the All-Star weekend, a $20 total bet wins me $140,
there
baby.
You go.
Of all things, but it was bad.
It was so bad. I think that there was the possibility that there could be more competitive basketball, but that was destroyed by the fact that anything that happened on All-Star Sunday was mitigated by 2.5 hours of commercial breaks and other things and 30 minutes of real basketball in this 3-hour slot.
It's bad when you're trying to get ratings or you're trying to look good with other things outside of basketball. AKA putting Kevin Hart there for some entertainment.
Right.
Kevin Hart did not do well.
He didn't do well.
The players did. You know what I've always said? I like Kevin Hart, but his jokes get old. His way of comedy gets old after you've seen it and heard it several times.
Yeah. And then it's 3 hours of that. Yeah.
There's several times last night or on Sunday when players were like, wrap this shit up.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's kind of you can hear the play-by-play and the players are like, shut the fuck up, dude. Let's get this over with. We don't want to hear any more of this stuff. It's taken away from the game, the actual gameplay. And it's let's see if we can entertain people and make people laugh by having Kevin Hart banter with Shaq or Kenny or Chuck
and do
or
a
Ernie.
Mr. Beast challenge in the middle of it.
That was fucking weird, too.
Weird, yeah.
I mean, honestly, that might have been one of the cooler parts of the night when that kid beat Dame in the shooting contest.
Yeah, he got the $100,000.
$100,000.
Yeah, but I mean, it's again, how do you break everything up? And I think that that's what left a lot to be desired, was that there were some people were saying, like, the format was fine. You heard that from, like, Jason Tatum. You heard that up and down the line. I think even KD said it, but it was just kind of like, man, we were just waiting around forever just to play the game. So I think they had, like, kind of a structural problem to go along with it.
It was a
too.
50-50 split in opinion on whether the actual games, like, playing the 40 with no time, just a shot clock was good, but, like, Draymond, Vince Carter, and Jalen Rose was part of the panel.
Yeah.
And Draymond was very outspoken, like he always is. It's like, this sucks. Like, why are the OGs playing against the rising stars?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here?
He did mention that.
He also
I want
made
to talk about that.
He also made a really good point that I think Adam Silver needs to start listening to the fans and what the fans want, because this isn't something you're going to fix overnight. But if you listen to the fans and want to improve ratings, there's always one All-Star game that people go back to, and it's 2000. Them wearing their own team jerseys, and it was very competitive with Carter and Marbury and Kobe and Jordan and all that. But Draymond made a good point when he said, all of those records, like the scoring record, somebody dropping 35 or 40, you eliminate that by running a game to 40, because the most points scored was like Jason Tatum with 15. You're essentially playing out on the street, and it's not a real game. Mm-hmm. So you're eliminating the possibility of people chasing records and all that stuff, and the competitiveness of all of it. I do agree with that. I don't think it was a complete bust, but it was bad. I would rather go back to a real game if you're doing that, because if you can do all the Pro Bowl shit like they do in the NFL and do the skills competition and the 3-point, the dunk contest has been flopping for fucking years.
Right.
Dude. You're relying on a G League kid to save this, like, year after year.
And he does keep on answering the call. The only thing is that no one else can, because, like, in between there's 10 missed dunks. He's actually jumping over a car the way that Blake Griffin should have done way back in the day when someone first jumped over a key.
But it does more harm than good, because as much as he is good, it is a bad look for the league. This kid doesn't even play in the fucking league.
Yeah.
And he's beating NBA players in a dunk contest.
And every year it seems like, the dunk contest happens, and then there's these big, John Morant being one of them.
Maybe I'll do it.
Oh, I'll do it.
No, you
we
won't.
can't do this anymore. And then it comes around, and they don't
do it.
They don't sign up.
Yeah. On the account that John Morant is constantly suspended.
Holding a gun?
Maybe. So then you have... Okay, so I wanted to address this Draymond thing, especially with the rising stars. I thought that it was, like, a little bit... sour grapes. I'm trying to find, like, the right word, where it's just kind of like these guys are less than and they don't deserve to play on NBA Sunday because, they're rising stars. They haven't earned the right to play on it. Like, we're trying to find a way to incentivize these guys to play harder. If the rising stars or a G League or anyone is going to come up and, like, try and get you to play because you would risk losing, I'm all for that. 1,000%. Oh, and then he says, like, we should pay these guys more. Fuck you. You already have guaranteed contracts. You've already made way more money than, like, a Michael Jordan has ever made while playing. Like, you don't need to be paid any more. You're not going to play any harder. I think that what ultimately needs to come down to it, I think that they're going to have to wait for LeBron and Steph and a few other guys to actually retire, is to go with the USA versus World sort of format. I think that, like, once LeBron and Steph retire, that, like, maybe you balance that out a little bit more. There's one thing that I also heard that was also kind of, like, interesting, and this is also tied to, like, home court advantage. And the MLB has experimented with this. The winner of the All-Star game gets home court or home field advantage. And to take it even further, they said the starters should start and end the game at a certain period where if you're a top 5 seed, that you get the most minutes. So you're incentivized to actually win this game, because, like, there's guys who are all-stars who are on dog shit teams. So you get guys who actually, like, want to, hey, this could affect my ability to get home court advantage when we're in the playoffs, and then maybe you can artificially create some competition.
If you're tying incentives, though, the only reason I'm a little conflicted on that is if you're tying incentives to the regular season and the playoffs, that is hard. You're not going to get a complete positive response on that, because if you're saying, okay, if the West wins, the West gets home court advantage in the playoffs. Are you telling me that a 4-44 team is going to get home court advantage? How are you going to feel if you're 1, 2, 3 seed? You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna play well with some of the guys that are on top. They're like, how would he fucking deserve it? If anything, if you get someone really petty, like, fuck winning this, we already get the top seed. Why would we give them home court advantage? I don't think, like, Draymond, yes, does he push buttons and does he say shit to get out a reaction? Yes. But I think with him, it's an old head take. Mm-hmm. Rising stars have always played like rookies versus sophomores, right? And they just want to get it back to like a regular East-West game, everyone wearing their jerseys. It's the nostalgia of the whole thing. It's the last most competitive All-Star game that we've seen because all of these other experiments are not working.
Yeah. I think that it's still going to take like multiple years for this to fix itself. And I don't know if it can. I don't know if, like, you know, people have talked about, like, how do you make this more incentivized towards, like, to the youth, to, like, engage the younger generation versus, like, our expectation of what we think it should be. I'm not sure. I do think that, like I said, it's going to take some years in order for it to...
I think the NBA has become a problem just overall. I don't think it's just the All-Star game, but like every department of the NBA has just become like an entertainment thing versus about the pure basketball, like the gameplay. It's become entertainment because if you look at it now, and it's always been big globally, but NBA has way more dedicated, passionate fans outside
in China,
outside of the U.S. In Asia, NBA's fucking huge.
Yeah. And you've heard about this too, where like Adam Silver's rebuttal to our viewership is down as well. Our social media numbers are through the roof. So what you're saying is that you are okay with sacrificing viewership for the sake of having a good digital footprint of what that poster dunk or whatever is. So
which it seems like what all anyone cares about now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like if that's what you care about, maybe there is a fight for, you know, what you have in legacy media or whatever is trying to deem as important versus like the NBA was like, no, we're trying to be like the Harlem Globetrotters or something like
Bring
that.
David Stern back.
He's dead.
No.
Very dead.
Are you sure?
Yes. Very, very dead. Before we get out of here, a couple things in the college football world, or the college basketball world. Tom Izzo passes Bobby Knight for most wins in something. I forget exactly what it was.
Division One?
Division One, yeah.
In something?
Yeah.
Most wins in west of the Mississippi.
Couldn't remember if it was divisional, like if it was conference.
That's not
or
that
if it was
shocking. Like
overall.
Bobby Knight, it's not like he is a legendary coach, but Bobby Knight did not have the success of a Dean Smith or fucking Boeheim or Coach K. Like he had an undefeated season. He had successful seasons, but he wasn't consistently just like all beating everyone.
Yeah.
So Izzo passing him was not a shock at all.
He was consistently beating something.
Something. Players, a.k.a. players.
Wow. Yeah, all right.
But good for Izzo.
Malik Brown, your boy, hurt, dislocating his shoulder for Duke. Looks like, let's see, we're about, 3 weeks out? Or maybe, 3 weeks out. Well, I'm talking about from, conference tournaments. And then we'll get into that. So hopefully he can recoup. And
Well, it's a deep enough roster. That's the thing with blue blood teams like that is they have 5 stars who don't even see the court.
yeah, but I mean, Malik Brown has been a very good defender for that team this year.
You know what sucks about that is that's where, so the Duke played Virginia last night. That's where he's from. So all the players gave him all the tickets because his entire
Oh, no.
family were there.
Wow.
And
That's
for him to get hurt in the first half, it's like his
That's
whole
sad.
family was there, and it's like, dude, this guy has been absolutely killing it. Not in points, but just like all the difference maker type shit. And it sucks, especially this close to March.
Talking about where a person is from, did you guys see what happened with Terrance Shannon Jr. and the jersey that they were going to honor him with and put it up into the rafters was hung upside down during the ceremony?
I don't know who that is.
No one should. So Terrance Shannon, it was drafted 27th overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves just this last year. And what was interesting was I was just like, why is Illinois retiring this guy's number? And it turns out they're not retiring his number. They're honoring his number because I think more recently every year, at least over the last 4 years, and more often than not, I think they've done this about a dozen times in the last since 2000, is that they're hanging these guys' jerseys in the rafters as if they're retired, but there's multiple guys with the same number. They're not retiring. They're honoring. They apparently have a very strict code in which you have to meet this criteria. You have to be like a consensus first team, second team. You have to be a Big Ten player of the year. You have to do all of this. Well, anyways, Terrance Shannon Jr., he has his, they're doing the whole unveiling like it would be retired. They pull the thing back, and the banner is hung upside down.
I don't understand how that can happen.
Disrespect. that was done on purpose. That's an inside job.
Right.
Because it's not like these banners are small.
Like, oops.
It takes multiple people to get this thing up.
Yeah, like you're...
And then cover it.
And so no one comes up and says, like, hey, hold on.
Hey, let's just double check real quick.
It's the same guys who was responsible for 9/11.
Maybe.
You think?
Well,
Put on your hat.
We need TSA out there stat.
so Terrance Shannon is a Chicago native. He took Illinois to...
You're going to give us his life story now?
I am. He made it to the Elite Eight, and this is why it's so confusing to me. Is that so? He took the team to the Elite Eight last year, averaging 23 points a game. And but what's interesting, he played for Texas Tech for 3 years prior to this. He spent then 2 years at Illinois. Has had a bit of a checkered past. He's been accused of rape and aggravated assault and everything like that.
Leave that part out.
Well,
Sheesh.
yeah. But then, and so maybe there's a little bit of something like that left people to want to hang that thing upside down. He was
Really
I think,
reaching
Yeah,
now,
now-
baby.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about this is that, like, I looked this up. Honor jerseys. The University of Illinois has honored its most dedicated basketball players in school history by hanging a banner with their name and number from the rafters. A total of now 36 men have earned a spot from this list.
Does it include Myers Leonard?
No, it does not, because
Pussy.
it says players selected to have their jerseys hung must have achieved any of the following criteria, which includes National Player of the Year, enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame, Big Ten Player of the Year, consensus first or second team All-American, Illinois All-Century team member, or an individual whose pioneering efforts have made a significant impact on Illinois or international basketball. Wow. And Terrance Shannon is none of those things. Like, he last year set a single season record for points scored by an Illinois basketball player, but it's interesting that he qualifies for none of the aforementioned 6 things. So maybe someone is a little bit upset that he did not meet those things. They hung his banner upside down. So
If Myers Leonard isn't up there, then it's a hoax.
hot Terrance Shannon conspiracy talk
No,
here.
Myers was up there until the whole anti-Semitic
Man,
comment.
dropping a
and they
hard K.
He
pulled
did
that
have an
shit
international effect, though.
Yeah. The last one, by the way, was Kofi Cockburn, who was in 2021.
Squeeze?
Yeah.
Cockburn was an OG, baby.
Cockburn was your last one, who was a consensus first-team All-American as a junior. So that's what we've got for tonight, boys.
Well, if we're going to get food, now's the time.
Yeah. So congratulations on
Yes.
outside of the
And-
cartel,
and-
a very civil.
Yeah, and a big thank you. I really appreciate
Thank you for
Thanks
including
for
us.
you
coming.
you having us. It was a wonderful, wonderful trip.
It was nice to not have just like 4 dudes there, which I was like asking people to go to Mexico. I don't know. But
I would be there over and we better get back to that house. That house needs to be
we'll make it happen.
in our lives at some
I know
point.
that it's not likely for Ashley to have the same experience, but I hope she has a great. She's going to Puerto Vallarta this weekend for her bachelorette party.
They're gonna have a great.
She's
time.
not
Amazing
rolling as
time.
deep, but she's. I hope they have a great time.
And I
They
hope
will.
that she knows it's going to be different. Like don't compare.
No, she knows that. I mean,
Yeah.
Cabo and Puerto Vallarta, first of all, are 2 completely
Very
different places. That there's a reason why we didn't go there. That is not really built for massive groups.
It's a little
And there's-
bit. It's a little bit more intimate.
There's
there.
5 of them going, and there's, she's not really the one. She's not the type to like go to all the same places. But there's a couple like taco stands that we went to when we went a couple years ago that she wants to take the girls to. But they're doing a pirate ship cruise dinner.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
They're gonna have dinner on the beach, and a lot of these taco stands go to the bars and all that. So
It'll be fun.
they're gonna have a great time.
So when the girls are gone, what are we doing?
Well, speaking of Illinois, Duke plays Illinois on Saturday.
You hit up some 9900 this weekend or something, boys?
Maybe
I'm free.
we'll have to.
I'm free for a few days.
Yes, sir.
All right, clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Get loose.